Hello, welcome to Quackalope, and today we're bringing you a full unboxing of one of our community's favorite games, Root, a game of woodland might and right by Leader Games. So we just got our entire Kickstarter order in, and I figure you only get one good shot to open up.
I found a duck.
The heck?
What? I was looking for the duck.
You've been gone for a while.
No, I was looking for the duck this entire time. What do you mean?
Well,
hi guys.
I'm not opening this by myself. Jan, welcome to the studio. Now,
hey.
If you notice that we seem a little bit more tired throughout the course of this video, well, that probably won't come across.
I'm energized.
That is because yesterday we drove something like 18 hours.
Yes.
To pick you up from Washington, D.C., bring you back here to the studio in Kentucky, all because Jan wanted to make sure he got to open Root on camera with me.
And also Jesse's crazy. But we all know this already.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of this channel, we told you content from both of us would be coming. You might have already seen some other videos that you've been included in. This weekend, we are filming as many as we can.
It's gonna be crazy.
Because tomorrow, in about a 36-hour period, I've got to drive you back to Washington, D.C. and re-drop you off. So let's go ahead and dive into this. We don't have too much time to spare.
We don't.
Before we do, just remember, if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. We're bringing a ton of Leader Games content along with a plethora of other things.
Yes, we do.
And if you've already been here, enjoying the content, watching our Root how to play videos or gameplay videos, and you're able to spare $1 or more, swing over to the Patreon. Not only supports this crazy kind of weekend trips that we do to make sure we can continue bringing you high quality content consistently, but it also is filled to the brim with extra content. So if you're interested in podcast, audio-only feeds, designer and creator interviews, one with Cole Worley specifically.
Oh, that was amazing.
Extra gameplay video, extra conversations and discussions between us, even potentially some different community-focused events.
Yeah, very likely.
Might get some games into your hands. Swing over there, and hopefully you'll enjoy both the community and the content.
Especially the community. Community's awesome.
All that being said, this is something we are intrinsically familiar with, and maybe more so than our average unboxing.
Basically, a weekly game right here.
Yeah, more or less, especially in our Discord community. I've played this maybe 5 or 6 times over the last month alone. Maybe slightly more than our average unboxing video, but like any of our unboxing videos here on the channel, we are familiar with the gameplay, the components, so we will talk to you about our experience and what everything is as we start digging into it.
And I think in this one, we might even talk a little bit about the strategies we put into play for each faction, which would be really interesting.
I mean, I wasn't planning on it, but if Jan wants to go there, we certainly can. I'm gonna start breaking into things. If you want to grab that lake map there.
Oh my gosh, playmats and everything?
Neoprene playmats.
Beautiful.
Came from the last Kickstarter, and I want a chance to give them
Oh
a
my
look.
lord, look at that. The colors just pop out of this.
Yeah, I'm interested to compare these to sort of the main board. So here we have the classic board here, with all the classic locations, and the winter map.
Very beautiful.
I like how the winter map looks here.
My
on the
gosh, these
Neoprene
are
playmat.
gorgeous.
It's a little bit more like creamy and white. I think the original player boards are a little bit more blue in some ways. And what do you have here?
This is beautiful. So
the lake map.
Oh lord,
one
look
of the
at this.
one of our community's favorites at the moment.
And then
the mountain map.
Oh my gosh.
Mountain map's cool because it
amazing.
Because it has the King of the Hill mechanic here, which adds. I mean, it really does create a pressure point that everyone wants to be involved with.
It's almost like a completely different experience for the game, like a variation. It's wonderful.
All right,
I love it. Ooh, using the white background for everything else?
I like the white background.
Nice setup. Nice setup. I enjoy it.
Do you want to do the honors?
Respectfully quiet?
Respectfully quiet. Let's flip this over. So Root, if you're not familiar with it, we're kind of going in assuming people are, because this is Quackalope. I mean, you kind of found us because Leader Games is amazing. Root. What is Root?
Root is an asymmetric war game with a deceiving facade. It's painted around this idea of woodland creatures, all cute and all lovable, but they are fierce.
Yeah, Kyle Farron's beautiful artwork sets the tone and foundation for this game. But underneath that mask of adorable rabbits and mice and cats, you have this tactile head-to-head combat system where you're playing one of a variation of asymmetric factions who have different core mechanics to how they operate and how they win. Where the cats are doing their very best to continue producing buildings, ripping trees down from the forest in order to maintain production lines and maintain control, sort of in a resource management.
The
cycle.
Eyrie are building almost like an engine through a tableau, just always scaling and scaling and scaling until they inevitably crash down and collapse.
I mean, the Eyrie is a hardcore programming game. You have things like the Vagabond, which is a brutal tactician trying his best to become the hero of one of these little forest factions.
And finally, we have the Woodland Alliance that are really just working to create turmoil and chaos across the entire woodland.
Yeah, they're sort of, they're little hives that pop up and just start blowing things up and creating disruption. So let's go ahead and start opening this up.
Respectfully quiet.
Respectfully quiet. After we cut the seam, now you're doing the seam with the knife backwards, so that's not quite how knives work.
Oh, sorry.
I appreciate the try, though. A Game of Woodland Might and Right by Cole Worley, art by Kyle Farron.
What an incredible duo.
So let's see here.
Oh.
Start breaking in. So this is the new Kickstarter box. This is the newest reprint.
Huh.
Walking through Root, a little step-by-step
Oh.
guide giving you another, telling people how to set up and how to get started in the
This
game.
is really
I like
good.
that they've included that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
A full learning to play guide here. This is a complicated enough game that Leader Games has done a lot to make it accessible and easy to play. It can still be intimidating to learn, but it's worth it.
No, but just with this, it's a huge step forward. I
Yeah.
think this is wonderful. I've always loved games that just teach me how to play every turn by turn. It just adds so much context, and also it shows players how to approach a game strategically, which
Yeah.
is always great.
And here we have the Law of Root. Now, these two books will be important to reference. If you want pictures and sort of reference guides and ease of use as you're getting started, Learning to Play is going to be your go-to pamphlet. The Law of Root will come when you really want to boil down to those A-B moments. When you really need to know that section 7.3.2 says step 2, you place a roost and starting warriors.
We're not trying to make this sound intimidating. It's just the type of thing that you will get into because you'll want to eventually the more you play this.
It's not an intimidating game. It can be a complicated game, but that's worth knowing when you're first breaking into something like Root. Now, we have a few player boards here.
And these are probably updated to the latest.
They are, yeah. We got some complaints on some of the boards that we were playing with in one of our last episodes because
Yes,
we
we
weren't
did.
fully updated. Well, now we are. We're just waiting for these to come in. So these will have on the back of them setup guides for each one of the factions, along with letting you know the setup order. And then on the front here, the nice thing that Leader Games does with all of their boards, but in Root specifically, is it walks you through a cycle of actions. So these boards are a combination of your game mechanics, your scoring points, your special keyword conditions, and your turn order card.
Yep.
Now, it's sort of unassuming when you first look at it, and it can look complicated as well because there's a lot going on, but as you start learning the game, the stuff you'll be breaking down is Birdsong is your starting actions, lets you know exactly what you're able to do, Daylight, and then Evening. And you're just going to move through that one step at a time, and if you're learning this for the first time with a gaming group, I always recommend have one person who's read through the Law of Root, or at least the Learning to Play guide.
Yeah, 100%.
Who understands how Root works. And then always just go through and read each section out loud, one step at a time, talking through your actions and taking the first few turns together.
Yeah, and just remember that everything you're seeing there is mostly a player aid to actually help you along the process.
So
So
here-
we have the map.
We have our reference. I was right. This is a little bit more creamy
It
and white.
is.
This has a little bit more of a gray and blue tone to it.
They're still both beautiful.
Oh no, I love them
My
both.
gosh, look at
And then
this.
this has a bit more contrast than the other side. So those are the
Yes.
two. Your blacks are going to be a little bit darker. Just to, it's part of the process for how boards versus neoprene mats get.
Yeah, this is more saturated in general because look at the trees over here as
Yeah.
well.
Now I have to say, no, no hard gripes, but I like the winter map here more than I like it on the
Yes.
board. I like the board map with the saturated colors more than I like it on the neoprene.
But I think I prefer the neoprene just because of the tactile
Oh,
nature
sure.
of it.
I'm just talking about the way Kyle's art comes through.
No, it's beautiful. And finally, we have some of our punch boards.
Punch boards. These are going to be icon indicators, resource trackers, little bits and pieces that deal with each specific faction, and everything will be color-coded. So if it's orange, it's dealing with the cats. If it's green, it is dealing with the Woodland Alliance.
And speaking of color, we have these incredible meeples, which I think it will always be my highlight of Root. So we have here each of the core factions that we've already gone through. We have the Eyrie, which are going to be blue. We have the Woodland Alliance, which are going to be green. The Cats right here, the Marquise, and finally your Vagabond. These are probably some of the most adorable and well-made meeples I've ever seen. And it's really mostly because of that screen printing that they have and just that so simplistic, minimalistic form.
Well, and they're simple wooden pieces. And I just like that there's not a pile of weird plastic miniatures I have to deal with on the board. Having simple color-coded forms just spread across the area is really nice. Now, the last things we have in here is a set of white dice. We will have some black dice in another box. And our reference cards. These are going to be our player cards, so cards that are used for factions like the Eyrie that need specific reference points, or the Vagabond who has missions that he's trying to accomplish. And then we also have our player deck here.
Yeah.
This deck will be the special abilities, the cards that you have in your hand, the things that you can craft, just all of the core utilization mechanics. One of the things that Root does really interesting when it comes to their player decks is these color-coded corners. The rabbits, the foxes, the birds, and the mice. The cards function in a variety of ways. They can be used for some factions with those color-coded tops. They can be used for the special abilities. Some factions can craft or accomplish things through them. Every faction, while they're all asymmetric, all use the same resource pool of cards to get all their actions done, to kind of utilize their core mechanics.
And one of the interesting thing about those cards is that it adds a lot of spice to a traditional war game. It makes everything a little bit unexpected and just gives the players a lot of space to create and innovate with their turns. You can make so many different combos and so many different choices that it can completely blow the water on your opponents. It's a really interesting system.
Now, all that being said, you are going to need to hold on to these cards. However, this standard deck here with the back, if this is maybe your third time playing Root, we're just going to set this off to the side because from this last Kickstarter, we have one of my favorite new mechanics into the game. This is going to be the Exiles and Partisan deck here, which adds... They take what they've learned over years of development and so many new factions here in Root and start applying it to this card deck, this resource pool that everyone's drawing from. Now, the same core principles will apply. You'll still have the 4 different colored factions. However, inside the Exiles and Partisans deck, you will find cards that give you abilities that relate to other player characters. So, for instance, the fact that the moles can dig tunnels, you might get a card that grants you access to a single mole digger who is able to connect all of your buildings.
I've actually never seen that card before. I'm kind of excited for that.
It's in there. The way that the Vagabond hands off cards and trades items with people, the way that the otters are trying to buy and sell, these mechanics start being introduced into this beautiful brand new system here. So if you haven't had a chance to play with or utilize the Partisans and Exile deck. I'm doing this just so I can show off some of the artwork. This has got to be, it has to be one of my very favorite new features in the game.
So if we have to distill the differences between the traditional Root deck and the Exiles and Partisans, the traditional Root deck deals with mostly the other animal critters and the other
It deals with the environment around the world of Root.
And then here, as you said, it's mostly faction-specific abilities that now have access to, everybody has access to, which is fascinating.
It's like I start getting to utilize your faction's principles. There's a world that exists in here, and so if you're playing with this deck, like you said, you're going to see the birds, you're going to see the foxes, and that's fine. There's a little civilization there. But I kind of like the feeling of having the same ability as the moles. I kind of like the feeling of a vagabond just teaching me how to use a sword sometimes.
Like I said, I think one of the most interesting things about these cards is the variability that they bring already to a completely asymmetric game.
Now, Dan, I'm speaking to you specifically, good sir. Do not worry. We will spend the next few minutes just making sure that I have all of these sleeved. So,
oh, of course. How could we not?
I'm not. You're supposed to like interrupt and be like, Jesse, we don't have time for this.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Now, Dan, I'm speaking to you just for a moment. One of our good friends. Don't worry, good sir. I know they've just came out of the package. We only have about a 30-second window before they start spoiling.
Okay.
We are going to spend the next few minutes making sure that we can get all
No,
of these
Jesse, no, we're not gonna sleeve. We don't have time for sleeving.
We're
not gonna sleeve, but these are wonderful sleeves. Look at that artwork. It's excellent. No, Jesse, stop it. No. We're gonna keep moving forward, buddy. We can do this. Dan, I'm so sorry.
Dan will be so disappointed.
Dan will understand. He'll be okay. He'll be okay with these choices.
All right.
So what's next?
Well, let's go ahead and start digging into one of the last things that still relates to the core of Root. If you still have one of your old copies, which we do, which may belong to one of our Patreon members very soon, we went ahead and made sure we got a upgraded board expansion, both because this artwork on this box here, the upgrade kit box, is just beautiful.
Yeah, of course,
I
like
like
always.
the uncolored, unstylized art from Kyle. But on top of that, it brings my copy of Root, which I bought in the very first printing at PAX Unplugged about 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It brings my very first copy of Root up to date, so I don't have to add stickers to the boards.
Okay.
With some of the rules and balance tweaks and everything like that. So
Okay.
let's open this up and just see which boards actually were changed between then and now. Now, an important thing to note, the boards that were changed in here, all of these updates are available online.
Okay.
So you can go and get references of them or print them out yourself or, make your own little custom stickers to upgrade your boards at home. Or Leader Games will have these official kind of upgrade kits available if you want to make sure that all your components are farm fresh.
And I think this particular upgrade kit includes also some of the expansions.
Yeah, that was one of the things we wanted to make sure we tied in. So here we have the Lizard Cult, which is one of the very first and biggest kind of shifts in terms of balance tweaks. We have the Mechanical Marquis, which is going to be the automated system here, the solo player mode or the bot mode. We have a Vagabond, which got updated.
We have some Riverfolk company.
The Riverfolk company, okay.
And then we have more of the traditional standard
So our four
Root
core
factions.
boards. Yep. And these are, again, are so they can be as simple as some typos, just refining and making sure, things that the community caught along the way, some clarifications when it comes to how you progress through the days, making sure that the rules are as accessible as possible, or, like in the case with the lizards, it can be full kind of core mechanic changes where instead of sacrificing from the board here, you're actually pulling from your own resource pool, really changing how your faction functions and plays across the board state. After, thousands and thousands of playtesters,
Yeah, I would
guess
imagine.
official gamers experiencing these, they've taken the time to refine and listen to feedback from the community.
And speaking of the lizards, I would love to dig into the Riverfolk expansion. So the Riverfolk expansion is going to introduce 2 new core factions into the game, which are going to be the Lizard Folk and the Otters. They both work incredibly different to each other. Should I be respectfully quiet for this too?
Of course, always. You don't have to be respectfully quiet when you cut the seam. It's you cut the seam, and then you're respectfully quiet.
Like that? Okay, perfect. So this particular expansion brings
I
in...
love that you're still opening it and not being respectfully quiet.
I thought it was just opening the seam. So as you go ahead and open that box, the Riverfolk expansion is going to introduce 2 new... The Riverfolk expansion introduces both the Otters and the Lizard Cult. They work so differently to everything you've seen before in Root, which is one of the most interesting aspects of each of these expansions. The Otters are basically tradesmen. They are trying to sell their wares to absolutely everyone in the table, so they add a lot of player interactivity into the core game.
Best
it's a
with
very
higher
fun
player
time.
counts.
Yes, for sure. It's a very fun experience. Then we have some new flavors on Vagabond.
Different character cards, different personalities, but also the opportunity to play with 2 Vagabonds in a game.
Yep. And this introduces a Mechanical Marquise for all you solo players.
And we also have the Clockwork expansion, which is the integration of the full kind of mechanical systems into those core factions, based off of or inspired from the designers over on BGG that took time to build no offense, Leader Games, more functional and more personal, or really more personalized automata factions.
Okay.
They took the time to really dig into what a good solo game is, and it's incredible. We have some better bot systems coming to the channel soon.
Actually, yeah, I was about to say, I remember that we might be covering this in a really interesting format.
We're working on it today, I hope.
Ooh, I'm excited for that. And finally, the Lizard Cult. These are so wonderful and so interesting. So they're pretty much looking to get into fights all the time so that they can be sacrificed to their holy god.
Well, I mean, you have to worship the Great Dragon. It's
well, of
like
course.
a standard operating procedure. You can't blame.
And as you do that, you'll start creating conspiracies around the board, which means that you can even convert other meeples to join your side and just create a lot of turmoil within the woodland. They are very wonderful, and after those balance tweaks, I feel that they really elevated this faction to be as fun and entertaining as everything else in Root.
Now, in here as well, we're going to have a few more additional cards. These can be cycled in or mixed into the core deck if you're playing with I believe you're playing with the Automata or the Better Bot system. And then we have our reference cards for each faction that you hand out to players so they can have a slight understanding of what you're doing. And then finally, piles and piles of adorable miniatures.
And I think my favorite are the otters. I just love that screen printed little face. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and then you have this black bar here. It can be used as your market stall if you want, showing everyone around the table what you are selling, and also it can be used as kind of the sequence of play with the Better Bot.
Is that what they're used for?
Yep.
Excellent. I had no idea. Thank you, Jesse, for letting me know.
It's just part of it. Set this off to the side.
What are we opening next?
We've talked so much about the Clockwork expansion. Let's go ahead and dig into that real quick.
Ooh, I'm excited. I don't have this particular box with me, so I have no idea what's in there.
A lot of solo games.
This is true.
And this is going to be one of the new things that just arrived through the last Kickstarter. And I am horrible with knives, apparently.
Well, you struggled with that.
That was the longest version of a saran wrap unboxing I have ever done. Now, this is not one that I have actually dug into a ton either, other than trying to read the rulebook and preparing. The Law of Rootbotics, which will go through all of the different factions.
Of course, they would have a new law.
We have our piles and piles of automated factions. So, the Mechanical Marquis, the Electric Eyrie, the Vagabond, and the Automated Alliance.
I just love the new, and look, no, flip them, please. Look at this. They are so wonderful. My favorite is the Eyrie. They just look so menacing. This is so cool.
These newer AI systems are going to function in a similar way to how another player would play the game, right? A little bit different because you are playing with a bot, but these built, if you tried to experience Root Solo from that first expansion, that first board, the updated one is much better, but this core system here, because of the time that's gone into a good solo experience and maybe a different understanding, or, you know, it is hard to build a game like Root and also think about a solo game experience.
And one of the interesting things about this, as you mentioned, is that it actually plays like the true game.
Yeah.
A lot of solo experiences usually are a deviation of the main game, so you're not missing out at all here.
And a big thing to keep in mind, even if you're not a solo player, these are designed to fit into a game with other players. Since Root is a game that functions well, or functions probably best with higher player counts, a 2-player head-to-head game just isn't quite as interesting as the dynamic 4 or 5-player count. This can supplement that. So if we're playing 2-player, we will probably always try to include at least one of these factions to add a little bit more chaos, balance, and interest to the game state.
Is it a cooperative feature, or is it just like there are 2 other players in the game?
So it's interesting. This also gives the opportunity for fully cooperative play.
Oh my gosh.
Up here in the top corner. Now, normally, the way I'd usually mix it is going to be me versus you and versus bot.
Well, sure,
because, you know.
But get a cooperative game of Root?
Yeah,
that sounds
it's
so
possible.
interesting.
It's something you can do. I haven't dug into it yet myself.
So here are the bot cards, and these are made so that every time you draw one of them, they will give you particular actions and personalities for each one of the different factions that you're playing.
Yeah, so if you're integrating and you want maybe a higher challenge with different characters, you can actually bring in some special traits that they have. You can scale the difficulty level. Their personalities, right? These add a little bit more interest to the bot that you're playing, let alone the mechanics and the board that you have.
Oh my god, look at this thing. Kyle Farron, you beast. This is amazing. Okay, so, and finally, we're going to go into another... All the expansions for Root are so wonderful. My recommendation would be to just read over them a little bit and decide which one is right for you, but sincerely, they're all super fun.
How about this? I'll let you open the very next box.
To show how you open a box? Fine. I was not expecting that. I was looking at the big box over there and I was so excited. And then you do this.
So what you have there are going to be brand new, adorable little meeples. You like the meeples so much, Jan.
Yes, I do. I was excited for the big box,
Yep.
Jesse. I can't lie.
No, I let you open the very next box. I did that for you. So these are going to be the brand new, adorable meeples that add characters, flavor, and a few more characters to your Vagabond roster.
And these are definitely the best meeples in the game, hands down.
Oh, they're awesome. If I ever play a full RPG, I'm only ever playing with root meeples from now on. That's right.
Look at this thing. It's so cute.
No more Kingdom Death miniatures for me. This is this new grail.
I really do
I love them.
the physical nature of this game. It's so nice.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's hands down. I oftentimes like wooden components more than miniature components.
100%. Same here.
And like I said at the very start, the color-coded, simplified aesthetic of this game not only tricks people into playing it with you, but also genuinely helps you translate a chaotic board state into something that you can digest, play, get rules wrong, post on the internet, and have people discover that you actually didn't win the game.
And one of the things that I find
fascinating, one of the
fascinating-
best experiences I have with this game,
Go ahead.
hands down.
Go ahead. Do it again.
No, I already did it.
No, go ahead. I interrupted
It was
you.
organic.
Go ahead. Do
But
it again.
But we were doing it.
Do it again.
Yeah. So we are going to start
Oh my
digging
God.
into the Underworld expansion, which, if Patrick Leader is listening, look, Cole. listen, buddy. You made one of my favorite games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Patrick came in and designed, I think, my favorite faction in the game.
Oh gosh, which is it, Jesse?
The Corvid Crows? I cannot get enough of these devious little purple things that blow stuff up. I absolutely love the subversion and the tactics around how you play with their hidden tokens. And also, they can just score, like, all the victory points in about 2 games.
Mm-hmm. So as you were talking, I just went ahead and opened the box that was supposed to be for me anyways.
I became quiet while you were opening it. You talked over. You're missing the whole point of respectfully quiet.
I was just excited I got to open the box, Jesse. Oh, what is this? Oh, okay. So just to be clear, this is the Kickstarter version.
This is the Kickstarter
of
version.
the Underworld expansion. As you can see, we now have another little set that's going to go out to Patreon. And we have another Exiles and Partisans deck, which is probably going to go out in a combo. And then we have the resin clearing markers. So let's give a little bit of context as how the original resin markers show.
So these here will pop in designating a zone, right? Rabbit, bunny, or mouse.
And now, this is what you get. Look at that. It's a dam or some type of the edge of a burrow. We have here a more solid construction with the fox clearings. And finally, kind of like a makeshift rubble-based facade with your mice.
Now,
they're gorgeous.
These are entirely gratuitous.
100%.
Just like the playmats here.
Sure, but look at the difference. It's so nice.
You don't need them.
You don't need them, but they're so nice. I love them.
That being said, I've thrown in my other game. I've like thrown a tiny baggie full of all the components I no longer need because these just.
They're so wonderful.
I'll even at times include these just to cover up the main board colors that are already there.
And one of the fascinating aspects of this is that again, it doesn't clash against the wooden components. It actually highlights them, and everything kind of exists around almost a materiality separately of everything else.
The one thing I am disappointed about though is that the color yellow has already been used for the rabbits, which means when they naturally integrate a duck faction into the game, we're going to have a negotiation around which color gets utilized. I could see maybe a nice variation on blue potentially being pulled in. I mean, we do have, however, the Eyrie here. We're gonna have to dig into the color profile. Now,
we will figure it out.
You know,
we will figure it out.
There's been some talk of a submission of geese as well.
Exactly, and that would be just white meeples, which there's not necessarily a completely white meeple in here.
Yeah, look, fam. Out of everything you've done to bring this game to life, Getting duck and geese meeples integrated in here, it cannot be the most complicated. It seems hard for us, but I guarantee you already have solutions for it.
I've heard that theocratic geese are a wonderful idea to explore.
Now, an interesting thing here, the law of root that you get in each one of these core games will actually continue to chain and replace all of the previous laws that you got. Now, they're all updated, but this one will start containing things like the Corvid Conspiracy, the Underground Duchy, the Riverfolk, the Lizard Cult, all the way back to the first 4 core factions, so that this becomes your core reference guide and it covers everything you need to know. We have our new player boards.
Which we already went through, right? We have our lakeside and then we have our mountainside.
Now, the mountainside is going to have tunnels that you can dig and also score victory points. It also has a King of the Hill mechanic, which is really, really fascinating. The lakeside here is going to have a giant puddle in the middle. Again, ducks, geese, like, come on. It's going to have a giant area in the middle that creates 2 interesting dynamics. First off, if no one is playing with the otters, you have a raft that brings you from point to point. If the otters are playing, you have a lot of zone control to try to sell and make places adjacent and have people kind of skirt those border lines. So really, really interesting.
You'll understand more when you look through our how to play of the otters, which will be coming later to the channel.
Or, I mean, our how to play of literally everything. I mean,
yes.
Look, it'll take us some time. I still do all the filming and editing myself. Jan still has to, you know,
be here and
sit in a car with me for about 9 hours now to come film in Kentucky. Have we mentioned the pig? Well, no, I won't mention it again.
No, it's fine. I think they understood.
No, they get it. Corvid Conspiracy, Underground Duchy. The Corvid Conspiracy, not only do I love the color purple, but as well, yeah, they're beautiful. These tiny little dotted crows. The Corvid Conspiracy is a faction that's all about planting bombs, planting pots, sticking raids down so that the moment you do anything to them, they blow up, they spawn, they ask you for money.
You've learned how to use them pretty efficiently, I have to say.
In the Discord community, I've played them 4 or 5 times this month alone. I haven't won yet.
Excellent. Thank you, Discord.
But I have came so close. You'll
never get there, though.
The taste of victory is just right on the tip of my tongue.
And finally, we have the Underground Duchy. So these guys are very, very interesting. They'll basically have complete access to the board. They could even pop up in places you never expect them.
Or like a tree knocks over just a little bit and a burrow pops up and they their little beady nose peeks out just looking around.
So they can pop up anywhere in the board. They are a faction to watch when you're playing against them. And another one of the most interesting thing is that you can sway ministers. These are kind of like
you have a hierarchy.
ascending, a hierarchy of player powers that you're going to be able to potentially employ more and more as you progress through the game. They're really, really cool.
Yeah. So I believe we have opened everything.
I think we did it.
Now, before we say goodbye.
Oh, we're saying goodbye?
I have well, we're gonna go film more root content for
the
channel.
Yeah.
We had to get this open because now we're going to start using it. That is how this works. Jan, very quickly.
Yes.
Top of your head, what is your favorite thing about root?
Asymmetry. 100%.
Dig into it. Why?
I love how variable every single faction plays, and it's not just that the faction itself plays different, it's that the experience in the table, on the table, is just completely unique for every single combination. In particular, one of my favorite experiences is being the otters, and just being like, hey, I have a card here for you, sir, which is completely different if you're playing with some more war-specific factions like the Marquise, the Eyrie, the Duchy, and even maybe the Woodland Alliance, where they're all just really trying to get into your throats. Then, when you're playing with the Corvid, it's all about surprise and intrigue and trying to play mind games with whoever the crows are just to understand what the heck was that token that they put down, and is it going to destroy my plans?
Now, I don't disagree with you at all. But it's probably not going to surprise you that for me, it's going to be the theme. Digging into and leveraging this world and environment that Kyle has built with the team. The fact that his art integrates so well into the personalities, the characters, the living space that we're playing in, reminds me of kind of those nostalgic books and games that I read up. Books and games that I grew up reading and playing. But here's the thing. For a theme to be strong, for it to count, for it to work well for me, the rules and mechanics of a game have to integrate with that theme. They have to tie together because it's how I learn and process while we still miss things in Root.
That's an understatement.
I mean, we do. There's a lot of little things to keep track of, and when you're posting it online, odds are people are going to catch you. There are so many ways that the personalities, societies, and just the structure of this woodland world are designed to fit the asymmetric personalities and traits and core mechanics of the game. The birds, structuring their society around this doctrinal principle. We always move. We always fight. If we don't get to do that this turn, well, then you didn't rule us right. Or the cats, who rule the forest now. Just want their production chains up. Want to start tearing down trees, ripping things apart. If you upset their little navigation, their food chain, you've ruined kind of the way they play. Or, again, my favorite, the crows. Popping up in locations, whispering in the dark, disappearing for a moment, planting something that you're not quite sure what it is, and then potentially destroying the entire space or flipping a token and revealing that they've converted a whole slew of your own members to their sort of world, to their mission. I just love how, as you're playing this game, for someone who is a thematic player, I can visualize and see all of it coming together.
They've done such an incredible job with this, and we will get into all this detail in the Right For You, Wrong For You video.
We will. Yeah, there's going to be other videos that dig into it. I just wanted to give, for those of you that have watched to this point, I wanted to give you something extra where we just mention some of our favorite points. And also, I really think I could probably play Root and do a fully thematic gameplay.
Very likely.
Like I did, the test run that I did over in the community with like Final Girl and stuff, where all I do is narrate the story. I feel like it's possible. It is a Grail game. Like
maybe
it's
with
high up there.
gameplay and narrative could be a good tie.
It's really high up there, but I totally feel like I could get it done. So, all that being said, thank you so much for joining us. If you made it to this part in the video, you must just really like Root. Go tweet at Leader and tell them that we did a thing.
That we did an unboxing of all their content.
Harass Patrick just a little bit. His Twitter handle's fully accessible. You just say, "Hey Patrick, did you see the thing where like the ducks? Like maybe we should include them."
Theocratic geese.
Look, I'm from day one, guys. It's always been to show up in Root. Like when that happens, we're done. We're like,
we can shut down the doors, turn down all the cameras, off.
I'm shutting it all, like... No, I shouldn't say that, because then maybe they won't.
If you can, please just think about the geese, man. Think about those geese.
No, they've had enough of us at this point.
Yeah, you think?
I'm pretty sure.
Well, whatever you do,
remember to do the important thing.
Get out and play some games.
We'll see you next time. Thank you.